The night it happened, the world felt like it cracked in half. It was just after 3 in the morning when Samuel Carter stumbled into his daughter's nursery, expecting to find her asleep with her little stuffed bunny tucked under her arm. Instead, the crib was empty. The curtains moved with the night breeze, and the silence in that room was so loud it crushed him. He sprinted to the security room, pulled up the cameras, and that's when the pit opened in his stomach. 20 minutes of footage gone. Static. It was like someone had stolen not just his baby girl, but the proof of how. That was the last moment his life ever felt normal. He called the police, the FBI, anyone who would listen. They told him most missing kids turn up within hours, but hours turned to days, days into weeks, and then the pit he'd fallen into just kept getting deeper. His wife Dana checked out first, blaming him for being obsessed with work, accusing him of caring more about his company than his family. 6 months in, she walked out for good. But Samuel, he didn't walk away. He couldn't. He had money, power, connections. He thought those things could bend the world. But all the cash in the world couldn't buy back a missing little girl. For 5 years, he didn't stop. He built an entire floor of his office into a search command center, maps, with pins, computers running face recognition software, private investigators on payroll around the clock. He plastered his daughter's face on billboards on the news online. Every birthday, he increased the reward 10 million, 15, 25. Every lead dragged him across the country chasing down shadows. Every letdown cut him open all over again. His company bled money. His body ran on coffee and rage, and the people around him whispered that he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had. Then came the call. It was a Tuesday morning, almost 5 years to the day since she vanished. His investigator's voice cracked with something Samuel hadn't heard in years. Hope. A small-town school in Iowa had just registered a 7-year-old girl named Isabel Ruiz. Dark curls, brown eyes, a face that looked like his daughter grown older. Confidence level 89%, higher than anything they'd seen before. Samuel didn't wait for confirmation. He grabbed his keys, his coat, and drove himself 3 hours through farmland and silence, his hands shaking on the wheel the entire way. The house was small, painted pale yellow, with a swing hanging from a tree in the yard. There was a bike on the porch and flower boxes under the window. It didn't look like the lair of a kidnapper. It looked like a home. He knocked hard, punching his ribs. A woman answered. Early 40s flour on her hands, like she'd been baking eyes that widened when he said his name. I think you might have my daughter." Her face drained white. She stepped outside and closed the door gently behind her. "Mr. Carter, you don't understand. I found her. She was alone at a bus station. Barely 2 years old, barefoot, terrified. I waited. No one came. The police shrugged and said they'd put her in the system. I couldn't leave her there." His mind spun. This wasn't the confrontation he'd imagined, no ransom note, no villain to rage at. Just a woman named Elena Ruiz, who had scooped up a broken little girl and stitched her back together with love. "Can I see her?" he whispered. Elena hesitated, then nodded. Inside the house smelled of cookies. Crayon drawings covered the fridge, and at the kitchen table sat a little girl with hair that fell in familiar curls. She looked up with big brown eyes, the exact shade he'd been dreaming about for 5 years, and smiled. "Hi. Want to see my butterfly?" Samuel dropped to his knees. "It's beautiful," he choked, tears spilling. "Just like you." He wanted to scream, to take her in his arms and never let go. But she didn't know him. To her, he was a stranger. And Elena was her mama. The clash inside him nearly broke him. The logical part of him screamed, "She's mine." take her home, file papers, use the law. But the other part, the human part, saw the walls covered in photos. The albums Elena had kept of birthdays and school plays, the way the little girl's smile tilted toward Elena every time she said mama. This wasn't theft. This was salvation. That night, Samuel didn't sleep. He sat across from Elena, listening as she told her story, how the child had called her mama the first night, how she sang her to sleep through night terrors, how she kept records of every milestone in case someone ever came looking. And for the first time in 5 years, Samuel wasn't angry. He was grateful. He made a decision. I don't want to rip her life apart, he told Elena. I want us to figure this out together. I want you both in my life. I want us to be a family. The weeks that followed were strange, awkward, tentative, filled with cautious joy. Elena moved with him to Chicago. Samuel made sure she never had to worry about money again, but he respected her independence too. He built her a sewing studio, encouraged her to open a boutique, and watched her step into her own dream while raising their daughter together. And the little girl, she thrived. She had 2 parents now, and for the first time, Samuel had more than hope. He had her laughter filling his house again. Then came the moment he never expected. One sunny afternoon, his daughter, now old enough to think carefully about the world, looked at both of them and said, I want you 2 to get married. That way we'll be a real family forever. Elena laughed nervously, but Samuel saw the truth in her eyes. They already were a family. And in that moment, he realized he had fallen in love, not just with his daughter all over again, but with the woman who had saved her. That night, with his heart pounding like he was 20 again, he asked Elena to marry him. She said yes. Their daughter, smug as a 7-year-old, could be declared herself both flower girl and wedding planner. It should have been the end of the story. Heartbreak turned to healing. But then Elena uncovered something darker. A former housekeeper let slip a memory. Samuel's ex-wife Dana had left the house with a suitcase the very night the baby disappeared. Later, her own sister confessed Dana had begged for an alibi. It wasn't some stranger. It wasn't random. The child's own mother had taken her, then abandoned her at that bus station like luggage she couldn't carry anymore. Samuel's knees nearly gave out hearing it. He had spent 5 years imagining monsters when in reality it was the woman he'd once loved. He wanted to deny it to believe the mother of his child couldn't be that cruel. But the puzzle pieces fit too perfectly. They had to tell their daughter. And how do you tell a child that her first mother had left her behind? With the help of a child psychologist, they explained the truth gently, that her mother's choice wasn't about her being unlovable, it was about her mother being unready. The little girl listened quiet and serious, and then said something that floored them. If she hadn't done that, I never would have met Mama Elena, and we wouldn't be a family now. Out of the mouths of children, sometimes the clearest truth. Dana eventually faced charges, probation, community service. The tabloids had their circus, but Samuel, Elena, and their daughter walked through it stronger than ever. Elena's boutique flourished. Samuel rebuilt his company. Their daughter grew into a whip-smart, confident child who understood more about resilience than most adults ever would. And yet, here's this part that still stirs debate. Did Dana deserve forgiveness for what she did, believing she was doing the right thing by leaving her child where someone would find her? Or does abandonment, no matter the justification, erase any chance of redemption? That's where I'll leave you. You've heard Samuel's story, his fall, his fight, his miracle. Now I want to hear yours. Do you believe people like Dana act out of cruelty or desperation? Have you ever seen someone walk away from responsibility and try to call it sacrifice? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I promise this one's going to spark some fire. And if this story moved you, Hit subscribe because we've got more tales that dig into the messy, painful, beautiful truth of what family really means. Because in the end, family isn't just blood. It's who shows up, who stays, and who fights for you when the whole world goes dark.